plays with goes up, and you'll see those types of performances like we saw last week against the San Francisco 49ers. And no matter who is on the back end for Denver, if you don't affect him that way, you'll get high-level play from C.J. Stroud.
This is such an interesting matchup. So let's flip it, Mina, because we had Bo Nix, 4 passing touchdowns in that Week 8 win over the Cowboys, but we all know that Texan defense is much different than the one that's down I-45 there. So how should Denver try to attack Houston?
Run the damn ball. Houston's amazing. The 4-man rush is terrifying. The coverage is stifling. The run defense is still good, but if I'm Denver, I do it for a couple reasons. One, sort of mitigates that pass rush to some degree. Two, I think Broncos, their rushing attack looks better and better every week to me with J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. The other thing I want to see is Bo Nix using his legs, as you see there. I wouldn't call this a weakness necessarily of the Texans defense, but we have seen quarterbacks who can run take advantage of it when they play man coverage, when they leave voids in the middle of the field, both as a scrambler and on designed runs. I would have Bo Nix be a part of that rushing attack, and I think that's their best chance against Houston.
All right, as we look at our picks for this one, thankfully no screaming because we're split.
I'll take a split. Is it me and you?
You and me. It's you and me.
Well,
Houston.
You're a Houston girl. I knew that.
There we go. So
I live in Baton Rouge, just close.
Okay. There you go. That's some good logic for you, right, folks? All right. New on NFL Live from Adam Schefter. We're really happy to see this. Initial testing has revealed that the Jaguars wide receiver and cornerback Travis Hunter, that ACL is intact, according to a source. He's going through some additional testing to determine the extent of the injury, how long he's going to be sidelined. He did injure his knee during practice on Thursday, placed on IR today. Sounded a little scary, but this is good news, right, RC?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good to hear that his ACL is intact, but that lets you know how severe they initially thought that this injury was to immediately put him on the injury reserve. It's still scary for someone whose game is built on speed. It's built on agility. You wonder what sort of player he can be again in this season as he rehabilitates that knee. And for me, it's sad because it felt like Travis Hunter was starting to gain his footing, at least offensively, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this team needs him so badly.
Yeah, coming off his best game of the season. It's like him and Cam Scattaboo, you know, these tough,
and you don't want to see these young players have these sort of setbacks.
I know, right away in their first season. It's time for AI-generated fantasy insights provided by IBM. This weekend, Jahmyr Gibbs is number 3 on the boom list. Facing the Vikings, his high projection of 21.2 fantasy points is 4th among backs this week. So we're going to start with that game for our play sheet presented by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Dano, J.J. McCarthy back over under 219.5 passing yards against the Lions.
Yeah, I'm going under, and I know Detroit is not as healthy as possible on the back end, but I just don't have a ton of faith right now in this offensive line in Minnesota, and I think because the way Detroit schematically plays defense, they'll go after JJ, they'll play their man coverage, and I think he's going to hopefully have some good moments, but I don't think he lights the secondary up.
Yeah, I was 215.5, by the way, passing yards. RC Falcons, Bijan Robinson, does he rush for 60 or more yards against the Pats?
Listen, the Pats are averaging about 76 yards per game, so defensively they do a great job. But Bijan Robinson has to rebound after the performance we saw from him against the Miami Dolphins. He fumbled the football deep down in the red zone. This guy is an absolute stud, and I expect him to be the focus and priority of this Falcons defense. He gets over 63.
Okay, Mina, give us an anytime touchdown. Bears, Bengals.
I'm going to go with the Bears' backup running back. Now their starter, Kyle Monangai. DeAndre Swift is out. This Bears rushing attack has been improved this season behind the strength of that offensive line, blocking better. And they're going up against the Cincinnati Bengals defense, which has struggled to stop the run all year long. So I like that matchup generally from Monangai.
Yeah, Mina coming through for us. Our $10 bet on the play sheet wins you nearly $50. And coming up, the Colts. And earlier today, they mutually agreed to part ways with their general manager, Chris Greer, who has been with the organization since 2000. He served as their GM since 2016. Dolphins senior personnel executive Champ Kelly is going to be the interim GM. It's a critical part of the year with the trade deadline coming up this Tuesday. As for what it means for Miami head coach Mike McDaniel, our Adam Schefter reporting that McDaniel will remain Miami's head coach for at least the remainder of the regular season, per sources. As we wish you all a happy Halloween, and our friend RC dressed as the great Willy Wonka. I love it. And he once said, the suspense is terrible. I hope it lasts. That's a Willy Wonka phrase.
Yes, ma'am.
Suspense is over in Miami. What do you think about the moves they made today?
They definitely aren't using pure imagination in Miami right now. You know, this is a struggling organization, an organization that's had players come into its spotlight and play well in Miami, and seen them cast off by Chris Grier, and they've acquired new faces around there that haven't actually panned out to be successful on the field. And now when you look at this team and its lackluster performances, the lackluster effort and execution, there had to be a change. The only reason I could see right now for keeping Mike McDaniel from Stephen Ross is to not put this entire organization in upheaval as you try to assess the players and the staff within this building. The thing for me is this: can you continue to get them to play hard? Can you continue to get each an individual and independent contractor to put their best foot forward? Because sometimes the name on the back has to matter more than the logo on the helmet. Mike McDaniel, to me, is a great X and O coach. He's a great strategist, and schematically, he's one of the smartest coaches in football. Can he get these guys to continue to play throughout the rest of the season?
They really beat themselves last night, right? At times, they look like they have potential, but they just, man, they got in their own way last night. Mina and Dan are both with us on this Halloween Friday. So, Mina, let's start with you. What did you think when you heard the news?
Yeah, you never want to cheer or root for someone losing their job or parting ways, but this makes a ton of sense. It was a long time coming. Grier took a lot of big swings on the current roster. Obviously, they haven't worked out, the biggest being contract they gave to the quarterback. Get to that in a second. Draft class have been very mixed. Feels like they haven't been able to fix their offensive line for, honestly, you guys know NFL Live. How long have I been talking about it? 6 years plus? So it definitely makes sense that it was his time to go. It's going to be a tough situation for whoever, by the way, takes this job. Tua's contract is still very large. To move on from it after this year would be exceedingly difficult. After next year, the dead cap hit gets more manageable. So, you know, you'd be walking into a situation, not a ton of young talent on this roster. But we have seen similarly difficult situations, Denver being, of course, the most obvious, turn around really quickly with the right players and quarterbacks. So it makes sense. We'll see what happens with Mike McDaniel. I echo RC's points about him as a play caller.
Yeah, before I get to Chris Grier, I want to touch on kind of Mike and Tua to Mina and RC's point. So I think 2 years ago, right around this time, this team was the #1 seed in the AFC. They were playing at home on Monday Night Football against the Titans. They win that game, they would have locked up the division. Ever since then, it's gone downhill. They lost that football game. But I don't believe that Mike McDaniel has forgotten how to coach. And Tua was in the MVP running at that point. I don't think Tua has forgotten how to play football at a high level. I think the reason that Chris Grier kind of had what happened today happen, this roster just is devoid of talent. I called their Monday Night Football game about a month ago. They don't have a ton of talent on this football team that you sit there and go, wow. In the last 10 drafts for Chris Grier, he has not drafted a single first-team All-Pro offensive player. If you compare that to a lot of the other AFC rosters, it's just not good enough. I don't think that this team is going to win a ton of games, but I do think that Mike McDaniel is a completely competent head coach, and Tua is still very much so a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, next up for the Dolphins after the mini bye, it doesn't get much easier. It's the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, the Ravens won that game. We're going to talk about them later, but we have more news to get to. A developing story in Jacksonville as the Jaguars placed two-way rookie Travis Hunter on the injured reserve list this morning after he suffered a knee injury in practice yesterday. This means he is going to miss a minimum of 4 games. We just absolutely hate to see this, Dan. What does it mean for the Jags?
Well, hopefully it's the short term. Hopefully it's just that 4-week stint. One, this is devastating for the Jaguars because they gave a lot up to get Travis Hunter. And I wouldn't say that he's had the impact both on either side of the ball that I think a lot of people anticipated and hoped for. So you're sitting there going, gave up a lot of draft capital for him. And right now he's been good at times and really good, but maybe not as impactful. I think the second thing was he's coming off his best game as a wide receiver.
Yep.
And you were sitting there after that Rams game going, all right, now you can come off of the bye and take off because this offense needs him. This is an offense that still desperately struggles to consistently catch the football. I would argue he's got the most consistent hands on the offensive unit. And Brian Thomas Jr. has been up and down this year. they need him opposite Brian Thomas Jr. to balance this pass game. And so hopefully it's the short period of time, but the reality is this is a devastating break for a Jaguars football team and a young player that just seemed, at least offensively, to start to take off.
This is a spot where you have to recalibrate. And I love that Dan mentioned what they gave up to draft him, because you gave that up because you had a plan for him. You thought that he could impact the football game on both sides of the field. And it was starting to trend toward he was going to be more of a 1B receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. In that last game against the Rams, he had 14 targets, 8 catches, 101 yards, a big catch for 34 yards, and a touchdown. It seemed that he was moving into being an offensive specialist for them. And so now when he comes off of this injury, whenever it is, if he does play again this season, it's about having a plan that allows him to be impactful, that's not stuck to the plan you had when you drafted him. You're going to have to move forward with how does Travis Hunter not only best help this team, but how do we keep him healthy and allow him to progress as his athleticism will take him, because he's one of the more talented players in this league. He has to learn to be a specialist and master an art somewhere on this field.
Yeah, that's why this was so devastating, right? Because to both of your points, it felt like there was some improvement there as a wide receiver, expansion of the route tree as the year was going along. And I was watching him thinking, this is going to look so much better in December than it did in September, but now we won't get to see that. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously you need the secondary pass catchers to step up. I would argue, though, equally important, they got to get back to running the football the way they did the first few weeks of the season. Something I thought Liam Cohen did an excellent job of at Tampa Bay was making adjustments in the run game to the personnel he had. This offensive line is not as good as the one he had in Tampa, but he has to find answers. One of those answers, and this is, I think, a little bit of potentially good news for Jacksonville, Brenton Strange, their tight end, will be back, I believe, eligible week 11. The more I think about it and the more I think about what I saw from him the first month of the season, he is really important in this offense, both as a pass catcher, but also equally important as a blocker. He was such a big part of what they were doing on the ground. So I think his return will help them be a more balanced offense, and I think they can build off of that going forward.
RC, to your recalibrate point, I wonder if this makes Jacksonville recalibrate their thoughts of his usage. He came into this season thinking he could play both ways, and that was their plan. And I know he was nicked up a little bit in like week 2, week 3, and now this happens, and it might be an independent type of event. But I wonder if they sit back, him coming off of this injury, and say, you know what, maybe we gave him too much too soon, and he is just a offensive or a defensive player, and he's not both.
Yeah, and I think that is with an understanding that you have to accept you may have been wrong, right? The lure of Travis Hunter was that he could play both ways, that we watched him play 100+ snaps throughout his college career in every game. But this is the NFL. It's different. It's difficult to learn, and physically, that will take its toll on you. We don't know how this injury happened, but this does tell us that you have to manage how much you give this young man and how much you ask from him, because he's only human.
And he really wanted to play both ways.
That's the other part.
He made that clear. It's going to be a very difficult discussion if it does come to that coming up. All right, we are just getting started here on